So, Ketan, the extent of due diligence will vary, right? Depending on whether it's a limited due diligence or an exhaustive due diligence. And also based on the
Correct.
type of transaction, whether you're going for an IPO, in that case there will be a full-blown due diligence, and if you're not going
Correct.
for an IPO, it will be a very limited due diligence. Also depending on the kind of stake you want to acquire. So we were talking about acquiring the business or shares of a particular company. Now if an acquirer only wants to acquire 15% or 10%, the kind of due diligence may be very limited.
Correct.
Is it possible to explain how these factors play a role into to the extent of due diligence that must be carried out?
Correct. See, I'll take a step backwards and answer the question.
Okay.
As I said, the imperative or the need for a due diligence is, say, 4 or 5-fold. Firstly, to give the buyer the information that it needs to have about the target company and to structure its purchase. So the
Right.
structuring and the useful information or the pertinent information gaining exercise. Second, to arrive at a suitable valuation. Third,
Right.
to be able to effectively negotiate and structure the proposed transaction. By negotiation, I mean negotiating the transaction documents, whether it's SPA, STA, SSA, or BTA, or APA. APA is Asset Purchase Agreement.
Right.
Then to become familiar with the risks and potential liabilities of the target. Then assistance in drafting the transaction documents in a robust manner, and also the ancillary agreements. Assuming I'm buying a business, the business has land, the business has employees, the business has consents. So if I'm buying the land, there'll be a separate agreement to sell and sale deed, correct? So that's an ancillary document. That's very important. If there's an IPR, then assignment of the IPR, that'll be an ancillary document that will not be contained in the BTA.
Right.
Then most importantly, to ensure a smooth transition and integration of the businesses from the seller to the acquirer, one to the other. Then to ensure due compliance with the statutory and regulatory frameworks, correct? Having stated all these are the imperatives of any due diligence exercise. Now, if the transaction is an IPO or if a transaction is a minority purchase, totally diametrically opposite. If I'm a PE who's acquiring, say, 15% in company, which is not even 3/4, so as to give me a right of passing or blocking or
Which
vetoing.
not even 1/4, sorry.
Correct, which is not even giving me a right to veto the special resolution. What I'll say is, okay, fine, this firm I'll employ, or this gentleman I'll employ, whatever it is, the advisor, I'll say do a limited due diligence. My idea is to do not a strategic investment, but a financial investment. What do you mean by that? Strategic means if I'm in the same sector, if I'm buying a company which is into, say, publication of books, I am
Right.
also a competitor. Therefore, I'm looking at synergies. I'm looking at taking that business on a separate level.
Lenovo
Here,
buying Motorola, for example.
correct. Lots of examples. Now here, as a PE, all I'm doing is a passive financial investment. What I need is IRR, ROI, and exit. I think that this business is doing reasonably well. As a PE, I'm sitting on piles of cash. Say my mandate is $30 million for India per fiscal. I have to invest that in the most lucrative venture. I will have a mandate. Mandate assuming is versatile. There are some private equity ventures or funds which can only invest in real estate. But here, assuming the investors have told me, okay, fine, you invest in anything, but I need to have an ROI of 200%, 2x in 1 year. Then I'll say, okay, fine, I'll study the financials of this company, the cash flows, the projections. I'll say, okay, this company is doing reasonably well. Let's acquire this. What do I actually have to see when I just am concerned with the ROI? I just have to see the management is good enough, so I have some role in the management rights. I just have to see whether I have an exit option, assuming the company is not doing so well. So 1 year, if the company is not doing so well, I'll have a put option, something like that, at a particular valuation. Thirdly, if there is something going on, like a winding up proceeding, liquidation happening, then I have a right of preferred liquidation right. That firstly, you liquidate my rights at a certain valuation, give me an exit and do whatever you want with the business. I'm not concerned with the business, but I'm concerned with my protection and return on the investments. So what is the object sought to be achieved by the particular transaction is what matters. Assuming we did Schneider acquisition of Luminous, in that Schneider wanted to enter into a separate vertical. It was into electronic transmission systems. Luminous was in batteries and inverters. I want to expand and modernize myself into a separate vertical. That means I have a strategic commercial interest. Therefore, I'll not be concerned about just the ROI. I'll be concerned about me having a say in the management. In the first case, whatever the management is, fine. Give me a return and I'll be happy. But here, I want to sit on the business. I want to learn the tricks and trade of the business. I want to actually ensure that the business is running in compliant fashion because it's going to be my business tomorrow. And therefore, I have that obligation to actually know everything about the business, which is possible. So I'll go for a full-blown due diligence, as you said. Similarly, in IPO, I think, it's not the business concern, but it's the legal concern. SEBI says you'll have to, the ICDR regulations mandate you to conduct a full-blown due diligence, which finds its place in the IPO document, which is a prospectus. So you'll have to tell that to the SEBI or to the stock exchange, and therefore, which is why you do that. That's one reason. Secondly, as I said, in strategic cases where you have commercial interest, then you do a full-blown to know the business well. It's your business. I don't know your business. I know the industry, but I don't know your business. So I'll do a full-fledged due diligence. If I only have a financial interest in that, then I'll say, okay, fine, do a limited one so as to see my limited interests are protected. On the other hand, if I'm doing a BTA, so in BTA, there's a company which I'm going to buy, or business vertical of a company which I'm going to buy, that manufactures automotive components, that manufactures the full cars, that manufactures the scaling and lining of the cars, tires, etc. I just want to buy the tire industry or the tire vertical of it. I won't be concerned about the other automotive components. I'll be just concerned about this particular vertical. How's it doing? The standalone financials. I'll ask them to carve out the financials as to what this particular vertical is contributing to the company's profits, expenses, and cash flows. So I'll do a limited due diligence to that extent. So it totally depends, to answer your question, on the objects and motives sought to be achieved by the proposed transaction.